Emilie Bodoin, Pure Lithium CEO and founder. Such a pleasure to have you at FMF TV. Thank you for joining us here in Riyadh.
Thank you so much, Ryan. It's a really big pleasure to be here.
I'm so happy to have an actual battery maker or battery materials maker, someone who knows so much about lithium and not just the mining of it, but the whole supply chain right down to making batteries, which is, of course, what you're specializing in. So let's jump into it. You actually provided an article for the newsletter where you painted a pretty bleak picture for the battery materials supply chain and what needs to happen in that space.
Yes, unfortunately, the picture is bleak. You know, the industry is incredibly disjointed, and the global supply chain is complicated by geopolitics and the amount of chemicals and components that go into lithium-ion batteries are non-trivial. So it's an inherently complicated supply chain, and it's even more complicated because these chemicals expire. So when you see batteries that are failing, it's generally because of bad chemicals, or you see problems in batteries. They're generally rooted to supply chain issues. The cost of our lithium-ion batteries is also rooted deeply in supply chain issues. And now, of course, China has completely dominated the entire lithium-ion battery supply chain. There are bans on exporting graphite. The industry is more and more squeezed. But the good news is that we have a new opportunity to usher in next generation technologies like lithium metal, and we can leapfrog lithium ion, and we can stand on the shoulders of lithium ion industry and say, all right, what can we do better to build this supply chain? Let's be sensible and maybe try to get all of the components and materials we need from localized regions like the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia, for example. So we don't need an entire global supply chain for a battery. And this gives all sorts of local governments much more optionality and much more security. And ultimately, it's better for the market and the consumer.
Where does lithium metal fit into supporting the energy transition?
Well, lithium metal is the original lithium battery that Nobel Prize winner Stanley Whittingham invented at ExxonMobil in 1977. That's before anyone had a battery in their cell phone. And the original idea was to use metallic lithium. Metallic lithium is the most energy-dense metal that there is. It's the lightest metal on the periodic table. And it has 3,861 milliamp hours a gram of energy. The anode in your phone today has 372, so it's substantially more, and it's the holy grail. The problem is that it hasn't been commercialized because of materials production, the quality of the material, and the price of the material is prohibitive. So the supply chain needed to be solved before this battery ever was going to get to market. So Pure Lithium decided to solve that problem first. And our technology is to extract lithium from a brine, and we go directly to an anode in one step. We just put copper and an electroplating bath. We have a proprietary membrane, and here's your lithium anode in about 10 minutes, and then you make the rest of the battery. So it takes 586 days for the lithium to get from the ground in South America to your cell phone in your hand. 586 days. How are we going to facilitate a global energy transition when it takes 586 days? So making a battery in a charged state, which is lithium metal, takes a day.
Wow.
Right? Boom, brine the battery in a day. So not only is the battery going to last longer, but because we solved the material problem with it, just the inherent nature of lithium metal, it's very different than lithium ion. You can make it in a day. There are all of these spillover benefits with ushering in new technologies. So a lot of people are hesitant and say lithium ion dominates. Guess what? It's 40 years old. Something new has to come in and replace it. There was a vacuum tube and a transistor story too. We know that one well. That has to happen in batteries.
I think I'm going to have to do a little bit more homework when it comes to the science after our interview, but I'm sure that most of our audience understands what you're talking about, and I have a little bit of a sense of it. So we're in Riyadh. I know that a Saudi Arabian company is one of your investors, and that you're going to be actually doing what you're talking about in setting up a supply chain with the goal of producing these lithium metal batteries right here in the kingdom. Tell me about that.
Well, we're very, very excited, and this is something that we're working towards doing here in the kingdom that we really, really, really want to do. We were here last year and incredibly inspired by the Minister of Energy and their office and their passion and the way that they want to deploy these new technologies. the potential of the young workforce here. I mean, this kingdom is absolutely ripe for the fast deployment of technology. So we want to set up a plant here in the kingdom where we extract lithium from brine and make the batteries here. And it would give the kingdom an opportunity to leapfrog lithium ion and really be leaders in the battery space.
I want to go back to what you were talking about when it comes to the resiliency of supply chains. You indicated that it's super complex right now with geopolitical factors. And so what do you say to that? Because obviously, your company originates in Boston, you're sitting in the United States. There's a lot of political forces now talking about near shoring, about overdependence on you mentioned China, for example. What's the solution?
Putting aside all the geopolitics, we have one planet, and there's this thing called air that we all share. So if we're ever going to make a dent in climate change, the whole world sort of needs to get on board. So we're not just an American company. I mean, we're in it for humanity. And there are places in the world where it's easier to deploy technologies faster because governments can be bureaucratic, they can be slow, and in the United States of America, it changes every 4 years. And the last two are usually some sort of a lame duck period because everyone knows that there is going to be a change. So it's actually shockingly difficult to deploy types of technologies like this in the United States. Now, of course, nobody from the United States wants to hear that, but that's exactly the truth. So we're going to be a global company, and we want to have regional hubs in North America, and KSA is in the literally perfect geographic region to become a super hub for batteries and battery materials.
I want to ask you about FMF itself, the Future Minerals Forum. This is the third edition. And one of the focuses here is not just the geographic region, the super region of 80 countries that go from Central Asia to Africa and focusing on them, but also making sure that the entire supply chain when it comes to critical minerals is represented here and are talking. It's delightful for me to be talking to you as a battery maker who also has interest in other parts of the supply chain. What do you make of the forum?
I love it. I mean, this is my second year, and I love the fact that there is a strategy here, a very clear strategy for how we're going to solve the critical minerals and supply chain problem. The forum, it's grown so much just in 1 year. It's absolutely remarkable, and I think it's great. It's just been super, super, super engaging.
Emilie Bodoin, thank you so much, Pure Lithium CEO and founder. It's been a real pleasure.